Good morning.
Good morning.
So, what the heck happened here?
Uh-oh.
Nope. Oh, well, whatever, but not the end of the world. So, hi, how are you?
I see the check mark. I am good. I am fantastic. I'm excited about
Oh,
today's
okay. Well, there we go.
topic.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. Today, we are going to be basically exposing the whole passive income myth, lie, whatever you want to call it.
It's like we planned that, but we didn't. That was great. Yes, I think so often people are sold on the passive income portion and I started 3 months ago and now I'm going on vacation. And just some of the non normal results that they're being sold on the social medias. So
Yeah. Now, that's really super irritating. Anyway, before we get started, I just wanted to introduce ourselves because I know that not everybody that watches us the same every week. So, in case you're new here, I'm Donna Stroll, and this is my beautiful and talented co-host Rose Short, and we do a weekly podcast, as you may or may not know, on all things online marketing. So, anyway, back to the topic at hand. Um, so
I
yeah, I
love it.
mean, online marketing can generate mostly passive income, but that is not how it starts. It's never how it actually starts, right? You got to do a lot of work to get it to that point.
Yeah, it's a lot of time, energy, money, even invested in setting up your systems, learning the proper systems, making the content, driving the traffic. Like there's a large amount of energy in the setup process that then, yes, can lead to the passive income, but it's never really passive.
Yeah, and I mean, it means that you can earn. I mean, passive just basically means that you can earn money online or wherever when you're not, when you're not actually working on it. Um, but that is, that doesn't just happen, right? There are things you have to get set up in place first, right? You've got to do some things. You've got to set up your blogs or your social media content. You've got to get your audience and you've got to set up your automations and all of those things first. And most people think that, oh, earn money while you sleep, which is a common sales tactic. And eventually, sure, that could happen, right? You go to bed and you wake up to commissions, and that's freaking awesome because we both have had that experience, right? It feels
Yes.
great when that happens, but it didn't just happen, right? You didn't
No.
just get, sign up for the program and then boom, or, build your store and then boom, it all just happened. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and of course there are the people that have pretty quick success, but those are usually people who have been on social media for a long time. They've already built a pretty big audience, and so they're marketing to a warm audience who already likes them and trusts them, right? So if you're just starting out though and you don't have that audience, it's completely unrealistic to expect those kind of expectations, and it's irresponsible of a lot of marketers to market it that way. Like I understand why they do because of the FOMO tactics and everything else, but you still need to be honest with people and eventually you will get in trouble as we have seen in the online space.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, there are some people who can sell anything to anyone, right? And they are just naturally good at it. Maybe they're salespeople in the physical world, you know, and they move into the online world and they just nail it. Or there's just some people who are natural born salesmen who just know how to move that needle a lot faster. But for most of us, marketing and sales skills are not things that we come by naturally. We have to learn them and then we have to implement them. And that's how we're going to build, right? That's your foundation. You've got to, invest the time. You got to invest the energy and you've got to, build up that content and build up those channels or whatever you're going to be utilizing to draw people to you, to build up your audience, to share your marketing, your message, whatever it is, whether you're into coaching or you're selling physical products or you're selling courses, whatever it is that you're going to be doing, you're going to have to pull people in who are going to hear your message. Or you're going to have to invest your money. Even when you're doing that, you're still going to have to learn and invest time on setting up your ad strategies and your email campaigns and all that sort of stuff. So
Yeah, well, and it's time in finding, if you're gonna hire it out, finding the right person, right? Like I've been through so many people that I'm like, yeah, that was fun, but we're never working together again because you don't know what the heck you're doing, or your communication was terrible, or whatever it may be. And a lot of times, like there's a lot of programs out there that are like, we're gonna help you scale and we'll manage your ads, and then you get into the fine print, and it's like, well, you need to be making at least $5,000 a month already, blah blah blah, because they want to help you scale, but they don't want to work with startups because that looks bad for their numbers, right? And so you kind of end up with this catch 22 of I need help, all the help I want to get though won't help me until I'm making more money, but I don't know how to get to that point. And so that's where like the despair, the anger, the frustration sets in, and that's when people give up. So it's a process, and it's not for the timid.
no, and yeah, exactly. Because I mean, part of that process for a lot of people is putting yourself out there, which means putting yourself on video, or even if you're not going to do video, right? Which is difficult. But say you're going to do blogging, you still have to put yourself out there. Your story out there. You have to put your personality out there. You have to reach out and put to people who you may know. Like, yes, you can start from zero and not have any of your friends and family, but the reality is if you put it out there and your friends and family are seeing it, there's going to be people that you have been connected with who are maybe acquaintances who will become interested in what you're doing and want to actually reach out. They're not going to be the first ones in line. They never are. But you have to be willing to put yourself out there. There's a level of vulnerability that you have to be willing to have that they don't tell you about when you first come in, because they always, oh, you can do it without even showing your face, and it's like, that is true, but it's one of those things where I feel like that's a fad situation.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't have a faceless YouTube channel or a faceless marketing account. You absolutely can, and they can work. But again, unless what you are promoting and selling is something really necessary, or you're providing information that doesn't really require your face. But it makes me think of those YouTube channels where people show you how to's, right? Like they're either unboxing videos or they're showing you how to's, like how to fix this or how to do that or whatever. And they're relatively faceless, but they're still talking. They're still sharing stories. They're still making themselves vulnerable. They're just not showing their face. They're showing their hands. They're showing what they're doing, but they're still being, they're still being them. They're still being out there. They're still talking and sharing and whatnot. So
Yeah, I think we're going to see a shift in that because with AI progressing, you have the ability to have a faceless channel that still has an avatar, right? So some of the avatars are getting really, really good, and a lot of the syncing is getting better. So you can make, you can have a channel where it's your information, but it's not your voice and it's not your face. So it's faceless, but not faceless.
yeah.
Now, of course, I would be open and honest about it. Be like, yes, this is an AI generated, whatever. But there are ways to circumvent that now. Instagram is great for that because you can repurpose other people's content so long as you give them credit for it, right? So one of the big ones I see on Instagram is like 7-figure income or something like that. And all they're doing is pulling other people's videos about how they make passive income, but then the link in their bio links to whatever program they're selling. I haven't actually looked at their bio, so I couldn't tell you. um,
That's
but there's ways
interesting.
to do it is sometimes make content a little bit easier, but then you still run into like you got to make sure that you're CYA and giving the credit where it's due and being honest about it not being your video and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, and that comes into reputation management, right? Like that's another thing that you're going to have to do. I mean, some of the efforts that you're going to have to do, you got to keep your content fresh, right? You got to make sure that you're managing your reputation, which is, if you're going to be repurposing other people's content, you got to put that in there. If you're going to be doing faceless or if you're going to be going AI, you've got to make sure that you make that information out there. And then you're going to also have to maintain your interactions, right? So you can't just put it up there and ignore it, right? If some people are commenting, you're going to have to engage back. And that's even for your blogs, right? If you can have your engagement. And granted, if something goes bonkers and you get like hundreds and hundreds of comments, that might be a little bit more difficult to be the response. But you can put one response, pin it to the top, and say, you know what, this is awesome. I really appreciate. I'm going to go through and see if there's any questions. If there's anything like really important, we'll get back to you. If you've got like somebody where you've asked them to, the call to action is something like interested, you might set up like an auto response so that people can get back to you, or that you can get back to them, let them know that you've got the information for them. But again, this is all time, right? And then because algorithms and trends change, like where you could do this but now it's better to do this, and now it was reels, but now Instagram is back to really pushing carousels. And what they're doing with the carousels is, if the first page isn't hit, if your first slide of your carousel isn't doing so well, they'll put up your second slide,
Yeah.
right? Or your third slide. So your carousel is getting more opportunities to be, because I think they want to go back to what some of their original stuff was and see how that's working. But again, that's a trend, right? That's an algorithmic trend where who knows what's going to happen in 6 months and where they're going to put that focus again. Who the frack knows? No one knows, right? So
Well, and that's marketing in a nutshell anyway, right? Marketers always have to be looking at the trends and what's coming up, what's going to be what popped this year versus last year. And social media is the exact same. And that's why a good marketer can do well on social media, because they're already analyzing trends. Now they're just shifting it to a different platform.
yeah, so I mean, and these are all things why not passive,
Yeah.
right? This is why it's the whole passive statement is a myth. And again, you can set up all this stuff and get it running, and then it can become more passive, where you are really truly only working maybe a couple, like an hour a day, or you're doing once a week where you're putting in a lot of effort, and then that's carrying over for the rest of the week or even the next 2 weeks. You build a team, and then you're basically giving your team the work, and you just make sure that you're filming your videos or setting up your content schedule or something like that. Whatever it is, that's how you get into the passive, but it's definitely not right out of the gate, right?
No.
So you got to make sure you're scalable, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where your passivity is going to start to come in. um, and then also, like you do, is diversify your income streams. Again, I do it as well. You get your platforms, like the tools we use, right? Some of those have affiliate links, um, because they're tools that we actually use.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we're going to use it anyways, right? So why not add that extra income stream and make it available to ourselves, you know, for other people? Because
Yeah.
maybe it's a tool that they're going to find that's useful.
Yeah, and like having different niches is not a bad thing. Like I feel like when you first start out, a lot of people are like focused on one niche and one platform. We are not one-dimensional people. So we need to stop pretending we are. And like this is my problem with cold therapy too, where it's not one-dimensional. Like we are three-dimensional creatures by nature. We have lots of different interests. And there's nothing wrong with diversifying and making money off those different interests. You just have to make sure that your messaging is clear depending on what you're using or how you're putting the content out there, right? So, like, I'm obviously not going to talk about how to make money online with my ice bath stuff, but at the same time, like it does kind of cross over sometimes. So, being aware of those things and being able to analyze it and for each different niche and each different channel, yes, you're kind of adding to your workload. But if you're properly content bucketing and batching and repurposing, it's really not going to be that difficult.
Yeah. And it's really about, there's a lot of structure that has to go in place in the beginning to allow you the freedom um, for later,
Yeah.
right? And it's those fundamentals. You build your foundation. Your foundation has to be solid, and then you can make your house as crazy as you want, right?
Oh yeah.
but but if your foundation isn't solid, then no matter what you build your house on, it's going to be difficult. You're constantly going to have to be propping up walls, and you're going to be like, this is never, this house is constantly putting me under stress. This business is constantly putting me under stress. There is no, passivity in this at all. And it's like, because you didn't build your foundations in the beginning. So you do have to put the effort in at the beginning. And anybody who tells you that you don't is lying to you because they want your dollar.
Yeah, if they're selling you a done for you system where you don't have to do any of this stuff, you're paying more. And you're not
Yeah.
really learning how to do anything. You're basically buying a business, which may or may not work out.
And even the done for yous, you still are going to need to build up a lot of those marketing channels. Maybe they give you a full email sequence, they give you the funnels, they do all that hard, all that technical stuff. But the soft work, the soft part, they're making the videos and reaching out to people and responding to people and engagement and all of that stuff. You still have to learn those soft skills. You still have to learn how to do those things so that the technical part that they've already built for you can actually work. So,
Yep, yep, yep. Love it. And then, of course, we all do this for time freedom and flexibility. We love to set our own schedule. But what that means is in the beginning, you're probably not just working on it whenever you feel like it. You're probably working on it in the early morning hours before work or late at night after work. You're trying to balance family time, workout time, self care, all these kind of things, right? So, in the beginning, yeah, you're going to be setting your own schedule, but it's not going to be the schedule that you want. And it's going to be hard. And you are the one that needs to hold you accountable for it. So that's where a strong why comes into play. But again, that's where, you're paying your dues in the beginning for that passive toward the end. So it's going to suck in the beginning. It's simple, but it's not easy. And it's straight up going to suck. But
yeah. Yeah. And
the things we're doing are never easy, right?
yeah. I mean, sometimes easy happens and it's awesome when it does, but we have to look at that as those are bonuses, those are gifts, right? And that's not to say that you should struggle for every penny that you make
No.
or that you have to struggle for every step forward that you get. It's just acknowledge that work in, progress out, right? If you don't put the work in, you're not going to get the progress. That's just a reality, and be willing to have a slower start.
Mm-hmm.
Like, assume that your start is going to be slow instead of assuming, oh man, like I got sold this great idea and I'm going to go through this course or I'm going to buy this product or I'm going to, set up my store. And within like a month, I'm going to be making back my investment. And within 3 months, I'm going to be bringing home like this much. I'm going to replace my job. And then, 6 months, I'm going to be like a millionaire. No, 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 most likely no. The first 3 to 6 months, you're just going to be learning the basics. You're going to be getting it set up, and you might start making back your investment. You might,
Yeah,
not guaranteed, but you might.
yeah,
Right, and then it's just be aware that it is a slow start. And the amount of effort you put in isn't necessarily going to be equal to the returns, especially in the beginning, because you might be doing things that aren't they're just not working out, right? Like you're investing time in places that it shouldn't be, or you've invested money in places where it's not the most beneficial for your particular business. That
been
happens.
there.
Yep, it happens. So you know,
Yeah.
content
Yep.
is another one that's a pain in the ass.
It can be, yeah. Content takes energy, it takes research because you need to figure out what's trending, what hashtags are working, which keywords are working, which hashtags are banned, because that does happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, content, if you're not comfortable being that person who films in public, because I'm really not, like, that can be a real downfall. Like, you see the people that are like basically modeling jeans and stuff, like on a college campus, and like no F's given, right? And I'm like, I would never do that. Like, I have a hard time even like filming my dogs in public. Like, I'm not gonna film me in public. Or people at the gym who do it, like, power to you guys. I don't know how, like, that's amazing. Um, but these are all things you have to figure in, right? Especially when you're building your platform of like, okay, well, what do I want my content to look like? Where am I going to film it? How am I going to film it? Really, 80% of your work with content should be the planning stage and the scripting stage. Only about 20% should actually be spent on the filming and editing. And I think that's a area where a lot of us get it wrong.
It's the same with like any kind of like you're designing stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get all caught up like funnel design. You get caught up on how pretty it looks and not how functional it is. You
Yeah.
know, and like your cover can be amazing for a book. It can be the most beautiful cover in the world, but if the inside is garbage, it's garbage, right? But the problem is on the opposite side, they say, "Oh, don't judge a book by its cover," but people 1000% do. We all do. And so you can have the greatest content inside, but if your cover is crap, so you have to learn the balance there.
I
But
mean, so I've always had issues with that phrase because I'm like, well, the cover should tell you what the book's about, though. Like, the cover art should pertain to the book. So, like, that phrase in itself seems a little bit wrong to
I
me.
think what they mean, like, I mean, because I guess because I do cover design, right? I do cover design. So they're saying don't judge the inset, don't judge the story of the book just by like a bad cover. Like it's not, visually as appealing as you would like.
Yeah.
But the reality is you can have an outstanding cover. You could have spent all your money on a cover and nothing on an editor, and now you have this beautiful book that gets people in, but they're going to leave a crap ton of negative reviews because it's garbage inside, right? So
Yeah.
focus on your
Well,
content, and then your cover is make sure it's decent. It
yeah.
doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be decent.
Yeah. We're visual creatures.
Yeah. So, what are some actionable steps that you can do to build your, sustainable affiliate income with the concept that this is not an overnight success thing? That is a myth. It's not going to happen that way. And if it does for you, then you get to be the Loch Ness monster, and that's awesome,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Go be your Sasquatch self. But
Yes. But you got to attract your tribe and you got to be honest with them. And that it can include sharing the struggles, right? Like, so often people are weird. We're like, we like the struggle stories until you're successful to a certain amount, and then we no longer like it, right? So, like, when you're first starting out, sharing that struggle is great. And then as your content evolves, obviously you're going to not be sharing struggles as much because you're going to be successful. But it never hurts to refer back to where you used to be. You just have to be cognizant of how you're doing it.
yeah, yeah, and I mean, that's your being relatable, because the reality is when you're, especially when you're in affiliate marketing, if you're doing digital products or if you're doing any kind of educational affiliate marketing, you're trying to reach the people who are a couple of steps behind you. So if you've grown and you've done really amazing, and yeah, you're going to want to reach people who are just beginning and people all along that path, but just recognize that your origin story might be a good hook. But if you're constantly using that and people are like, yeah, but look at you now, right? Look at where you're at. Like, I don't relate to that. So just
Yeah.
try to, recognize who your audience is. And you can use your struggle story for your physical products as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, say you sell golf clubs, you know, I use these other ones and they were crap. Now I use these and I've gained, I've done so much better. I've got, this is so much better. I was doing all my cooking. I had my old grandma's hand mixer and it was great and I love it, but holy crap. I upgraded and this is amazing, right? Those are
Yes.
struggle stories too. They're silly, but they're all those kinds of things. You first moved into your apartment and all you had was a bed on the floor. And look how I've upgraded my life. Cool,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah, think of it in terms of like the fitness industry, right? Like if you're trying to sell a weight loss product, you're going to show before and after pictures, right? And that's perfectly acceptable. And that's how you can market a lot of stuff. It's just, again, being cognizant of the way that you're presenting.
yeah.
And that's where high quality content comes into play too, right? Like the quality over quantity.
Yeah. I mean, quality. Some people just want to post, like they tell you post 3 times a day, 6 times a day, 5 times a day, whatever. Some people post 3 times a week
Mm-hmm.
and do really well because their content is evergreen. It even if it's not like permanently evergreen, maybe it's good for like 6 months. Still, it's there. It's solid. They're consistent in their posting schedules, which really helps. So like, and it depends on your platform too. Recognize that depending on where you're posting is what's going to have a big effect on that. Um,
Yeah.
and that goes into like making sure that you're diversify your traffic sources, right? But you can do that with repurposing content. Like you can post long form and then break it up and put it on short form platforms. Or you can take, like, say you're just a long form person, right? You're just more comfortable with that, then be that person. Do a long form blog, which is, pretty evergreen, and then turn that into a long form video because even TikTok, you can do 10-minute videos. So if
Mm-hmm.
that's where you're more comfortable is on a TikTok versus a YouTube, then do that. You can do up to 10 minutes. So by all means, knock yourself up. I mean, we do this every week, and we're anywhere from like 25 minutes to 45 minutes, depending on how much we got to talk about. And and so, it's there. We can do that. So just,
Yeah.
do what works for you, but, make sure that you're doing it as quality, not just churning out crap because you think you got to churn out crap.
Yeah. And then of course we talked about before too, analyze your data and adjust. Like data is so important for business in general, but especially for online business. And we have so many tools available to analyze your data from, each platform has its own. You've got third-party ones that have their own. You got extensions you can put on. Like there's so many different ways to analyze your data. So learn how to read the data, analyze it, and pivot in real time. Now, don't get too overboard. Don't like daily make 30 changes because you think you're reading the data. Make a change, wait a couple days, analyze again. Like it is a slow process, but again, slow progress is still progress.
And
Quiet
slow,
progress is still progress.
yeah, and slow progress, I think, allows you time to grow and to build in a way that's actually going to work for you because meteoric rise can often be followed by a meteoric drop, right? Whereas if you have a consistent rise and it's slow, which steps you're taking, you see where you're going, you see where you've been, you understand what's getting you there. It's going to be a lot easier to plan out next steps. It's going to be a lot easier to plan out that scalability than if you went from 0 to 100. Now you're up on this pedestal and you have no idea where you're going to go from here, how you got there, how to replicate that situation. Like that can be very challenging, right? And that's not to say be afraid of success. It's just saying that sometimes that slow and steady is really where the benefit lies, you
Yeah.
know? So, and then automation, leverage it, don't depend on it. But I mean, yeah, don't depend on it because you never know what's going to break down. You never know what they're going to shut down, right? that could be great for now, but not later. But definitely utilize it. Just maybe utilize more than one version.
Yeah, I keep an eye on it. Like I can tell the people that comment on my stuff that are commenting with AI, like that it's not really them. And one person actually had a problem where there was a post that was like a very heartfelt, like down in the dumps post, and his AI commented something along the lines of "Great read," and the guy was like, "What the fuck? What are you talking about?" And he was like, yeah, sorry." So keep an eye on it. Make sure you're training it properly. But I see it all the time on mine where it's like great photography, and I'm like, what? What? Okay, cool.
Yeah, I and even if they're short, I mean, there are some long responses and there's some short responses that are AI generated. We're getting more savvy at spotting that. So just be aware of that. I mean, if you're going to use your AI, because I'm not going to lie, I love the AI. I don't use it for responding. I use it for a lot of other things, but I do love the AI. But I also recognize that it has limitations, especially without proper training. If you're gonna utilize these tools, whether it's an autoresponder or your email sequences or whatever, even just whatever it is, your schedulers, make sure you're learning the tools that you're using, or you're hiring somebody who truly understands and is really building out those platforms in your best interest, because anybody can say they can do something, but make them prove it first.
Yep. Yep. And then of course maintain a balance. Like see it a lot where people jump on the trending content and that's all they make, and eventually the algorithm's like, cool, you don't make any original content, right? Like there's so many people online doing the same sort of thing. You need to stand out, you need to be yourself, and that includes not just doing trending content. So yeah, jumping on the trends can be fun, but don't make your entire content trends.
Yeah, you've got to have things that are evergreen, simply for the fact that if someone likes what you're doing and they start scrolling through your stuff, right? Give them something that's going to stand the test of time so that they can go and look at it. Something that you can simply pin.
Yeah.
Like if you're all you're doing is following the trends, then you can't even pin that content because it's not going to be valid in like a month. So you want to make sure that you're making a good blend of stuff that's useful, that's got some object permanence going on, you know, along with the fun stuff, the trendy stuff, or algorithm. If you're just following wherever the algorithm is going, the same thing, because the algorithm might circle back to that long form stuff, and sometimes the algorithm is not necessarily going to be your best friend. So
Yeah. And even a lot of the Instagram coaches and whatnot, like they'll, be like, oh, this is a trending audio. But then if you go to their page, like they've pinned their top tips, or, they've pinned something that's not related to trending content because they understand that trending can change.
yeah, yeah, and the things, especially with like trending audios, or visuals, by the time you get to it, is it still trending?
Yeah.
By the time you heard about it, is it actually still trending, or is it not? Right. So
Yeah.
And then, yeah, we talked about it earlier, the multiple affiliate things, and that's really simple. Just tie them together. So again, not necessarily passive, but can be, right?
Yeah.
You, if you use tools, just put that down there. If you have a favorite platform or a favorite whatever that you use, that's not necessarily your main program, but it does help you do whatever it is you're doing. Drop that affiliate link in there and say, I also do this. I use this to set up my videos. I use this to do my long form content. Whatever it is,
Yep.
drop that link in there, because that's a way to add to your income stream, and also a way to add some passivity to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Straightforward.
Yep. That's about it. So, again, consistency, as long as your content is the right content, like people beat it into your head like, oh, just be consistent. Well, if you're consistently doing what's not working, it's going to
You will
consistently not
consistently get the
work.
same response. Yes.
So I was stuck in that loop for a long time, guys. So, like, yeah. Audience engagement and building, of course, we talk about all the time. Email list building, it's annoying, but it is lucrative. As
You
long as you
don't
know
have
how
to
to
do
craft
anything with
emails.
that list right off the bat,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can, like, you're building the list. That doesn't mean that you have to, like, all of a
Pound
sudden
them.
pound them with, emails just for the sake of it. So
Yeah. And then, of course, never stop learning, never stop analyzing.
that's my favorite. Yeah. Keep learning because, the more you learn, the more you grow. And, or, if you keep learning, you might just find that you need to switch gears or change tactics or whatever, which is going to then help you grow more and build out that income, that passive income, or mostly passive income that you're wanting, the reason that you're getting started in the first place. So as long as you're willing to put the effort in at the beginning, frame that house, put in the time and the effort, then you can go and build what it is that you want and do actually have that passive income that you were sold on in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
So next week,
Next week, I know I decided the topic. We're going to talk about, with holiday season coming up, how do you plan for seasonal affiliate marketing? And it's really not as complicated as you might think.
no, a lot of it's going to be timelines and doing research again. All that pre-work is now. This one's going to be really more focused on products, right? I
Yeah.
mean, there is some digital, right? There is some digital POD, that kind of stuff, but it is going to definitely be more focused towards the products versus like your courses and stuff like that. Unless there's, you're teaching, how to build a Christmas wreath, in which case, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So that's it for today. If you found this helpful, please drop a comment, hit the share button with someone that you think is going to get some use out of it. As always, subscribe, right?
Yes.
It's okay to say you like us. We like you too.
And we only bite sometimes.
Yes. Well, that's why we remain caffeinated.
So true.
So yeah, your feedback is really super important for us to be able to grow this channel. If you have something that you would like us to reach out about or talk about, and we haven't yet, again, drop it in the comments. Let us know because we are here for you. I
Yes.
think that is it, and that is all for this Friday. So happy Friday, everyone.
Enjoy your weekend.